Hello, welcome back. I'm back here in the shop today working on the SLX. Trying to get things all buttoned up because it's going to go up for sale here soon. So if you're watching this because you're looking for an Acura SLX, keep your eyes peeled. Main reason I've got it in the shop is it had developed a little bit of a valve tick. The lifters were sticking, so I decided that it was time to do those lifters. Was throwing a code that I was losing fuel pressure, and I found a leaky injector, so I wanted to fix the injectors on it. And I also had some oil leaks I wanted to chase. So all that meant it was time to tear into the engine again. So let me show you what I got going on. As you can see, all the intake is apart. I've purposely left one side closed up for the purposes of cleaning things, and once things got cleaned up, I'll probably pull it back off, as I want one side completely together for a reference when the other side gets put back together. So I've cleaned out around all the holes where the injectors go in, all new seals and everything going in, so I wanted that to be all nicely cleaned up. As you can see though, getting after these lifters is a big project. Plan a few hours to get it all torn apart, plan a few more hours to clean it all up, and we'll see. I've had the intake apart before. It's to put it all back together is a solid half-day project, and I'm assuming more than that to get all the lifters and cam and everything back in place. So I'm going to show you here what's going on with why your Isuzu ticks. So on the end of the tip of the rocker where it comes in contact with your valve, there's a little hole there. Inside of the hole are these little hydraulic lifter cylinder that's in there. And that little cylinder, I should have had one open and ready for you. So that little cylinder fits right inside of there, and it's got some little O-ring seals around it and a little screwed journal in the side of it to bring oil in there. There's some little tiny holes in the tip that's how the oil gets down in there, and those things go bad. Either they lose their kind of springiness to them, or what's most common is it gets gummed up in there, and then when it sticks, it needs to be able to move around in there a little bit, so they get gummed up and they stick inside of there. So on this side, I've got all the new ones in place. Once it was all cleaned up, they all kind of, once you get past it, they kind of pop them past that seal and they stick down in there good. I just used motor oil in there. I pre-lubed them all with motor oil and put up some motor oil inside of those little holes and put them in there, and I cleaned out all of those little tiny holes where the oil gets in. So once I pushed them in, I made sure oil was coming back out, all of them, to that everything's flowing good. So at the same time, if you've got oil leaks and you've replaced the valve cover and are wondering why it's still leaking, this is probably why. At either end of the cam, there's this little cam journal housing thing that bolts onto the top of the head, and Isuzu calls for a very specific 3-bond brand RTV type stuff that seals this to the head. So mine was obviously had oil leaking past mine at this point in its life. And then on the very back side of the engine, and you cannot replace this without doing this project. There's no way to, you could drive it out by pulling the cam, but once you pulled the cam, you may as well pull this housing. But you cannot pop this out from the back side. This seal is up against the firewall. So that seal goes in the other end, goes in this end like so. I'll have to drive that in with a seal driver kit, but the old one was clearly leaking oil past it. Isuzu uses this little actually this does go in this end, because they use this little plate to hold it in place. Now, I don't know what the hell that plate did as far as keeping that seal in place, but you could tell that it was an issue, and this little plate here was their remedy for it, and I don't know what it does, but the new seal is nice and soft rubber on it versus the old one is just, it's so hard plastic. Part of the seal actually stuck, and that was a pain to clean up out of there. That hardened plastic stuck in there, or what was once rubber and is now as hard as plastic, because that had to be cleaned out, and then the new one will go in. So hopefully that goes a long way to fixing some existing oil leaks. I went to the junkyard ahead of time, because this is just Isuzu Trooper stuff, and got a set of injectors. I took them to a local injector shop, had them rebuilt, all new seals put on them and stuff. So I'm in the process of cleaning up this fuel rail and get all the new injectors put in there. He said just use like a 3-in-1 oil will work to lube up that O-ring. He said some guys use Vaseline, which is fine too, but he likes just he said a light oil. And I said, well, how about 3-in-1 oil? And he said, oh yeah, 3-in-1 oil would be just fine. Put a little oil on those O-rings when you pop them in place, is what he said, and should be running sweet and solve that leaky injector problem. So thanks to the injector shop in Snohomish, Washington. I know he ships worldwide, so if you got injector problems on anything, his rates are good, and did a nice job. Everything's all been sonically cleaned and pressure tested and flow tested, so we're 6 injectors ready to rock. Few updates here. So I think on my last video I had spoken about the lift kit going in it, and so I did end up buying a brand new set of tires for it, some new 265 70 R16, I think was the size. 265 75 16s right there. These are from TireRecappers.com. Recapped here in the United States. They're pretty cool. They're a Michelin Defender LTX with basically if you know your mud tires, this is like the OG MTR Goodyear tread pattern from like the early 2000s. So I mean, I had these tires back then and loved them, and I kind of liked them better than the next MTRs that came out. So yay. Like I said, they're a retread or a recap. They ride great. They drive great. I have zero, if I didn't tell somebody or they didn't really know tires, they would never know the difference. Their website has a whole bunch of frequently answered or asked questions on there. If you go on there, my review of the tires are for the money, 5 stars for the money. Are there better tires out there? Probably. They took a bunch of weight to balance, but for the money, maybe these things were like $137 a piece or something. I paid the extra $12 to get the matched set, so I definitely say to pay that extra $12. So I got all 4 Michelins, versus if you don't pay that $12, you might get 4 different tires if you get them, I suppose. But great, you know, I'm super happy with them. I also have finally got the cracked windshield replaced. It's so nice. It totally changes this vehicle. It had been missing this side trim since I got it. I had sourced the trim at the junkyard a year ago, and it's been sitting in my shop. Finally got around to getting the windshield put in. So super thanks to Clearview Glass here in Everett. They said it was a pain to get all the trim and all the clips back in place and all lined up, but it does looks fantastic. It's so nice to not have a cracked windshield, and really changes the look of the vehicle to have that trim all back in place as it should be. So that's pretty much what's going on at the moment. I got stuff to clean up here still. I'm waiting on that. I wanted to use the exact RTV that Isuzu called for in the book. It was this 3 bond brand. It was 10 days to get it. It was easily found on Amazon, but I want to make sure this thing seals up. So lots of cleaning up here before this thing goes back together, but fingers crossed, no more valve tick, no more oil leaks, no more fuel leaks at the injector, and things should be tip top. So once again, thanks for watching. Bye.